So as you guys can see, the hobble is real. So I didn't really know how I was going to start this TED Talk, and I wasn't originally going to start this way. But as I was starting to get ready, I had a hard time figuring out what I wanted to wear. Anybody else have that issue tonight? Yeah? Okay, cool. Well, at least for me, when I was getting ready, I was trying to figure out what jacket I wanted to pick out. And as I was sifting through the jackets, I was pulling them aside and I was realizing I don't remember where I bought this, why I bought this, or really the purpose that it's serving in my life. More so, what's the value, who is it from, and why do I have it in the first place? And the reason I'm sharing this is to share that I am the problem. I am a part of the problem that we're talking about tonight. And the problem is that we are over-consuming things, and we're consuming things without thinking about why we're consuming them in the first place. So to flip the script, I want us to think about consumption in a more positive light. I want us to think about how we can use conscious consumption to empower good people. Now, before we get into it, I want to quickly talk about my favorite company that I ever started. You Suck Golf Balls. When I was 7 years old, I told my dad I wanted a new set of golf clubs. So he took me to Dick's Sporting Goods. We went down the golf aisle. We found the perfect set for a 7-year-old, small. And when we found that set of golf clubs, I remember it clear as day. $75. Now, I don't know if you guys remember being 7, but you're pretty broke when you're 7 years old. So my dad looked at me and he goes, how are you going to afford these? Or how are you going to pay for them? Well, at that moment, we both knew that I was probably not walking out of Dick's Sporting Goods with a brand new set of golf clubs. Well, he told me, hey, I'll show you how you can afford them if you want. So I took him up on the offer. He walked me down to the golf ball section where he handed me a brand new pack of Pro V1s. Any golfers out here? Yeah, you guys know Pro V1s, so you pay $5 for a golf ball? Yeah. So that's the thing. I was astonished that people pay $5 for a golf ball, for something that they're going to lose. But that's the point. So, you see, my dad knew that on hole number 13, there was this deep grass that people had to hit the golf ball off the tee box over to land on the green. And he knew that when people lost the ball, they never went and looked for it. So he said, we're going to go find the balls, and then we're going to sell them back to them because they'll pay about half the price of a new one. So that's what we did. Next thing I know, we're going through the deep grass, throwing balls in our backpacks. Then we go back to our house, wash them off, but we needed a storefront. So we went and we ripped off a piece of cardboard and we wrote, "You suck, golf balls. 2 for $5 or 3 for $7. And every single day that I got off the school bus, I went to hole number 14, where I sold the members back the balls that they lost on hole number 13. Now, once I made $75, the rest was history. We went to Dick's Sporting Goods, I grabbed the clubs, we threw them in the back of the car, and we were off. But as we were driving away, I was trying not to cry. Now, as a 7-year-old, this thing called emotional intelligence doesn't exist, right? You have no idea what's going on. You just got golf clubs, right? Why are you sad? My dad looks back at me out of the corner of his eyes. He could see that I'm sad, and he goes, what's wrong? Not able to express my emotions, he tells me, I think I know what you're feeling. It's okay. The first time that I made my first purchase, I was also sad because you finally learned how hard it is to make money and how hard you need to work when you actually want something. And you're probably thinking, what an interesting lesson to teach a 7-year-old. But for my dad, this was another day on the job. An executive in the consumer products industry, whether he was revolutionizing triathlons, taking products globally with Under Armour, or pushing the sport of snowboarding further down the mountain with Burton snowboards, inventing products were in his DNA. And he wanted us to all fall in love with that as well. But understanding this, he also understood that as Americans, most of us have more than what we need. And a lot of our consumption habits are driven by things that we want. And because of that, growing up, we were not allowed to say that we needed something. So, for example, if I said, hey, Mom, I need a new snowboard, she would go, well, Teddy, do you need a new snowboard or do you want a new snowboard? Now, you see, they wanted us to see the difference between a want and a need. Because at the end of the day, we were very blessed, and they wanted us to understand that. And it is also okay to want something. Because when we want things, we work hard. We try to achieve them. And that's something that should be celebrated, right? But that brings me to the question of why do we buy products, right? Now, it's important to understand when you want something, why you want it, right? Because that's how it's going to serve value, right? Well, for me, I believe that we buy products from people to solve problems. Wild thought. So, think about it. In the 1900s, when we went shopping, we went to specialty storefronts that specialized in selling specific goods. We, a lot of times, valued the people there and trusted them to provide us with what we needed. So if we needed bread, we went to a bakery. If we needed clothes, we went to a seamstress or a tailor. If we needed produce, we went to a farmer's market. And because of that, most of what we shopped was in season or locally sourced. Fast forward to the 2000s, we have superstores where you can literally get anything that you could possibly imagine. And if you can't find it in the superstore, odds are you can find it somewhere on the cellular device. Now, I don't know about you, but that's pretty freaking cool, right? That means that we're in a free market society where literally we can make a living doing whatever we want. If you wake up tomorrow and you go, hey, I don't really love what I do and I'm not finding purpose in it, you can go change it tomorrow. The only person that is going to stop you from doing that is yourself. But because of that, we need to understand that there are two types of people in this world that are going to sell us products. We have people who are going to provide us with a solution, and we have people who are going to try to convince us that we need a solution. And you see, this is why the people that run a business matter. Because the people that run a business control the money, the community that they foster, the family they build, the outreach that they're performing, and most importantly, the solution that they're selling to society. Now, here's the crazy thing. We can all come together and decide whether or not we believe in a proposed solution. So, quite literally, if we all said, we can take plastic water bottles, for example, I think we can all get behind that single-use plastic is not the greatest thing. So, if we were to say, we don't want single-use plastic water bottles, we can all come together in this room, and then let's multiply it, and say, we're not going to buy plastic water bottles anymore. If we stopped buying single-use plastic water bottles, would they continue making their way onto the shelves? I don't know. And a great example here is Liquid Death. Liquid Death is the fastest growing alternative. It's an aluminum canned water bottle in the entire world. And this is proof that these products can exist and we can change the marketplace just by believing in something. Now, as we've pointed out, consuming consciously is tough, right? Liquid Death is an alternative to plastic water bottles, but it's also 25% more. Well, I'm going to paint you guys a crappy analogy, pun intended. And the real reason I am using this analogy is because I actually, selfishly, I want to tell my future kids that I made a poop joke on a TED Talk, which I'm doing right now. So, I think we can all get behind. The first question we're going to ask is this product a want or a need? Now, toilet paper, we could argue, you don't need it, but, in modern day society, if you need toilet paper, it's kind of frowned upon to not use it. So we're going to classify that as a need for this scenario. Now, the second question that I ask myself is, how long will this product last? Because that's going to force you to think, Is this a short-term solution? Is this a long-term solution? Is this something that is going to help me fix existing products, or am I just going to dispose of it? When we start to think of things that way, we also start to think about the ingredients that go into it, the ingredients that we're putting into our body, on our body, around us, and the ingredients that we are inviting into our homes. Now, the last thing I ask myself is there a purpose beyond the product? Now, I have this brand, Who Gives a Crap, up here. I don't know enough about them to say, like, hey, we're going to boycott big toilet paper, like boycott BTP. It could be a thing. Don't try me. Now, the reason I have them up here is because they donate 50% of their profits to building toilets in places that can't afford them. Interesting concept. Now, this whole concept of purpose-driven marketing, where did it come from? Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia, started this concept and built a business off of the philosophy that it is hard to make any product without causing some unnecessary harm to the environment. Now, mind you, he believed in this and built a company to $1 billion, which is living proof that you can build a company, get wealthy in the process, and do a good thing. And I know what you guys are probably thinking. Put your money where your mouth is, right? And so he did. And when he dies, everything that he owns will go back to the charities that he built to sustain the environmental stewardship he believes in. Now, the reason I'm sharing this, environmentalist or not, is to prove that people like this exist. People like this exist who create a product that is going to solve a problem, but with those products, they believe that they can solve a problem much bigger than themselves. But they're few and far between. And that's why when we come around these products and these brands that are actually doing good, we need to support these people. And how do we support them? We buy their products. Now, I know what everyone's probably thinking. Well, what's in it for me, right? Because as someone who also consumes, this is what I think of. But when we buy products that have a purpose, we could do the unit economics, but let's not nerd out. This is a TED Talk. We could do the unit economics. The product is going to be more expensive. But I would argue that if we paid more for the product and we focused more on craftsmanship and the value that the product is going to provide to us, we would have more appreciation for the value. And by consuming that way, we would also naturally start to consume less, but consume better. And if we took this all together and took this approach, when all of us wake up tomorrow, none of us would have an issue figuring out what we're going to wear. Thank you guys. God bless.